Oh boy, are we streaming? Because I hope to gidly God we are. We are. Hold on, give me 1 minute. I'll be right with you guys. Just sharing the. Oh, I still gotta set up the music. Okay, I'll be right back. I forgot about the music to soothe your guys' nerves.
Get closer.
I hate ads. There we go. There we go. Oh, shoot. I accidentally just knocked you guys. I'm sorry. Alright, boys. Let's start. Today we are doing thanks r/thanks I hate it. And I'm gonna hate this so much. Vivian, she looks familiar. Such nerve. I'm good. No thank you. I'm afraid. Let me just make sure the music is working. Let me just make sure the music is working. The music is not. That's wonderful. So only I can hear the music. That's stupid. How about if I do this? No, that still won't work. Should pick it up. Or is it not loud enough?
You like jazz?
Is it not loud enough? Oh, maybe. I'll be right back. I'm heading to Twitter.
You like jazz?
Okay, here we go.
You like jazz?
Alright, boys, let's go. Snicker bars have a dick vein, but y'all aren't ready to talk about that. Yeah, deeply enjoying the insecure straight men saying that I've ruined Snickers for them. You're the weakest link in your. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to eat Snickers either, boy. What? That's uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable now. When your teacher is about to give you a blank ton of a shit ton of homework. Oh no, shoot. Thanks, I hate my childhood now. Yeah, you're not wrong, Mo. Not like I have enough to be not like I have enough to be afraid or anything. You've been staring at the wall for an hour. What the heck is so interesting? Oh. I hate you. Yeah, no thank you. Okay. Wait, what? Oh. Are those all I'm good, no thank you. Uh, Aku Aku. I mean, if you really think about it, what the? Oh, Kirby, why? My roommate, who recently bought a 3D printer, just walked in the room and handed me this cursed object. This cursed object. I should have picked a better subreddit. This is a nah. This is a big nah. And I sprained my hand yesterday, so this is wonderful. What? Oh, why? I hate amusement park figures. Why? Oh, I see. Oh wait, they don't have. Oh. Oh, they don't have eyes. Oh, we got an hour and a half of this, boys. No way to escape. What? What? Oh. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's. Oh. Oh. Another Mickey D's thing. I don't know. Oh. What are those? Cookie dough. You sure about that? That does not look like cookie dough. I've already seen that. I want to stop reposting. I'm selling squallets. You're selling what? Junior Squirrel asking $30 firm. I have 22 in stock inbox for your order. I also can do Google Eyes. Whoa. Color fur and wacky haircuts. What? Google Eyes. Why? No, Luke. I'm not gonna be able to read this, am I? I am your fear. 9! No, Luke, I am your fear. 9! I want to save that image, please. What? Oh yeah, I hate that. Okay, question. What does HMB mean? Okay, Google. What is the annotation HMB? Oh wait. In text speak, what is HMB?
According to internetslang.com. So now you know HMB means hit me back, don't thank us. YW, what does HMB mean? HMB is an acronym, abbreviation or slang word that is explained above where the HMB definition is given.
Hit me back. Okay. Hit me back while I put my junk on fire. Oh. Ho ho ho. What? Oh. Oh. That's a no. Thanks, I hate it. I found this outside. Oh. Ho, ho. What is Oh. Oh, ho, ho. So, speaking of that, I have a story, and oh no. No, I'm good. I don't wanna. I'm afraid. How it feels to chew 5 gum. Oh, why? Why? My Jeff just sent me this on Snapchat. I'm afraid. What? I'm good. No, thank you. Could you stop with like the noises? Thank you. Yeah. I thought it was Fortnite. I was about to be like, okay, this is promoted. Moving along past that. If you vape, if you vape and are a dude, you are gay. That's not true. Proof: if you vape, that means you enjoy sucking on a personal electronic nicotine inhaling system. He is speaking the language of God. Thanks, I hate paper. Yesterday I was at school and it was the last class, and this one girl at the table next to me took a sheet of paper. What? Oh, I actually have to click on it. Give me a minute. Yesterday I was at school and it was the last class, and this one girl at the table next to me took a sheet of paper and started sliding fast between her fingers. Everyone started screaming and staring in fear. A couple minutes later, I looked over and saw blood all over her hand. Oh, what? What? What is that? Oh. Oh my god, I hate BioShock now. I mean, the biological systems of the Big Daddy are like humans, just inside of suits. They're not like that. They're like deformed humans. Okay, so you guys can hear it. I just gotta turn down my volume and pull this back just a bit. And I gotta turn up the music just a little bit. Dude, the Reddit readings are getting so many views. Thank you, by the way. You know, I hate BioShock. I hate smokers. Why? Oh, yeah, because they leave, like, holes in it, don't they? Oh, no, that's the actual... Oh, God. Yeah, now I know how you feel. Oh, those hot dogs. Those are hot dogs. Ah. What the... Yeah, I'm skipping that one. That's it. Why? Momo scares me. Like, I'm legit. Whoa. Mint Mobile. Nah, shut up. I don't need you. Oh, what? 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 Did that fly just exploded? What? Oh, why would you do that to yourself? Oh, why would you do that to yourself? Yeah, not today. Thanks, face swap. Yeah. That tattoo, though, why would you do that to yourself? Call me Carson. Yeah. What the Poor Carson, that's all I have to say. Thanks, I hate living. Why would you hate living? Scientists discovered winged spider. The what? Wait, there are such things as winged spiders? Why? Yeah. I hate this Jesus. Yeah. Are those teeth? Are those teeth? Nah. What, really? I mean, it's not that bad. I'm actually gonna save that one. Since I'm a weeb, it's not that bad. That's just your own. Oh. I just looked at the shoelaces. Promoted. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Nah, because I get seizures easily, and I don't think I need this. Wait, what now? Shoot. You know what it looks like? It looks like a Karen going to the store to get the manager. Oh. 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 Why do you hate me? Why does that? Oh. That's clever. The Bernie phone. The stuff nightmares are made out of. Persianman.exe has stopped. Thinks I hate it. What? It's just anime. Oh. Yeah, it's just anime. Ooh, ingrown toenails. No, thank you. I'm good. I have one of those, and I just got rid of it. What? Life is a highway. I've been in multiple head-on collisions and hesitant to do much further of how much further I can drive. Kazoo. Why? Don't ruin cars for me. What he knows what you did. He hates it. Why would you sell those? Uh-oh. Oh. Like... Why? That's not right. That makes me sick. What? Mm-mm? Why? What? Why? You make me sick. What the fuck is that? I'm gonna give me a minute. I'm gonna switch up the tracks. Oh, I stinking sprained my hand. How long are you? 47. We're good.
Grammarly does more than catch errors.
Tokyo Ghoul too. That's nice. Oh. That's horrifying. I mean, that doesn't look half bad. I mean, I would eat that. My friend once went as that. It was Two-Face type. It was Two-Face, but as a girl, as a woman. Mayonnaise is. That's where I draw the line on this. Mayonnaise is lube. I had to read it, so suffer with me. Alright, there's a girl who goes to the university to my city who used mayonnaise as a lube. Started having orgasm in the lecture hall and she was taken to the hospital and turns out there were maggots inside. The fuck? Why? Coming and coming sound exactly the same. R/thanks, I hate it. What is that?
You like jazz?
No, you know what it looks like? It made me want to throw up. Those are not SpaghettiOs. You just ruined bean donuts for me. Why are people not smart? And 2 streams today. By the way, guys, I'm going to be doing r/thanks I hate it and r/ probably something else. I don't know. I cannot find my mouse. There it is. I actually do not like this. I want lo-fi. $33 minutes. We'll be fine.
Does more than catch air.
Ads.
You can
I am a weeb. Do not judge me. Promoted? Yeah. Grandma sent me this. Why? I don't know this anime. I feel like I do. I come up with a dirty joke today. So many regrets. I must be a vegetable because I don't have any seeds inside me. Wait, vegetables have seeds inside you. Wait, no. Wait a minute. What? No. I know the hair, that's Sailor Moon's, isn't it? Pretty sure. The hell? I mean, Carson, why? Oh, Carson, why? I saw that yesterday. That actually looks kind of nice. Again, a wife who's from Monster Inc. made, but oh.
By the way, great lyrics. They're even cornered in the original version.
You know, I haven't even finished Toradora yet. Everybody, I think it was Scorcher who yelled at me to finish it. What anime is this? I feel like I know it, but I feel like I don't. Oh. Oh, it's a giant clot. Why? 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 What the actual hell? No, I've already seen that. Peakman. Been a while.
Are you gonna come and explore the airship with us? How about you, little Oreo?
Oh, that's Hunter x Hunter. I know that one. What? You're smart. You're smart. You're smart. That's all I have to say. What in the fuck? Oh, it's swole. Look at that. What the fuck is a squeg? Oh, it's that. Oh. No, thank you. I'm good. Your debt and pay 0 interest. Oh, wait, is that promoted? Yeah, that was promoted. Thanks, I hate whatever this is. I'm not going to that page. You're fine. Oh my god, it's The Exorcist all over again. No, I have trypophobia. That's a nope. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I have created life. Thanks, I hate it. Already seen that image. Panorama mode selfie. That's scary. Is that a glitch? Oh, that's when you know that your kid's becoming Reagan from The Exorcist. Normal finger. What? Why? Thanks, I hate food shoe. Things that are not aesthetic. Why? What can I say except delete this? That face. And everything in this. When you're giving her the Trump Tower and she screams, I've seen that one. Ooh. Whoa. Copied your hands on a printer and created this monstrosity. This is vile. Yes, it is. What are those? Is that supposed to be JoJo? Alright, before I continue, I'm popping my bag. iPod, iPad, I paid. I paid. I love those. I'm afraid. I hate that bumper sticker. Oh, you boned. You what now? Why? Why would you do that to Big Bird? Relieved plus vomiting equals. Yeah, that, yeah. Thanks, I hate Wi-Fi passwords. Wi-Fi password. What? Oh. Oh. Yeah, I'm with him. What the fuck? I have a slimmer and cooler mustache version of myself. That is awesome. Wait, what? What about sex? Heh. No, I'm good. No, thank you. Thanks, I hate JoJo. Why? JoJo is good. JoJo is... Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. Nice tits. Oh, your mouth already scares me.
Home, so I can visit you and eat. Visit you and eat your face off.
What?
Get well soon. Go home, so I can visit you and eat your face off.
Yeah. Armchair expert. Have you heard? I've listened to that one, and I've kind of listened to lore. Said apply ice to my wrist. I don't think he meant like that. What did you do in the foot? Did you just like slit? Stop. Oh, Jesus. That is not blurshed. Huh? You know, just for not dexterity, just for dexterity, I'm gonna save this. Just gonna do that later. No, actually, I'm just gonna send it to my friends. Just be like, what the fuck? I don't Google. Wait, what? No, Luke. I am your Führer. Darth old Hitler. Man, my actual wrist hurts. This is your brain on what? This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. This is your butthole. This is your butthole in prison. I don't hate it. I like it. Ew. I mean, you don't look half bad. That. No, bro, I'm good. No, thank you. You told us that you didn't like disposable. And we listened for now abusing 100% egg. Ew. Why? Why VIP? I give that one a knee slapper, or at least a knee hitter. This is like kind of feels like oh good. That's funny. I'm saving that. Oh, is it this? I have, it's that. I knew it. I've already seen that. Why would you do that to your kid? Hey, I made a hockey puck. Do you like it? Why? Could you like shut up for like a minute, people? What anime is that? Dreamy. Oh, yeah. No, that's copyright. That's copyright. That's copyright. Hurry up. You are? Awesome. I don't care. Moving on. Discarded trust. All I see is emoji giving. Yeah. Why is that? This is. I still need to finish JoJo, but why? All Minecraft cows can produce milk, which only females can do, but they can also breed and make baby cows, which males and females. Which males and females. So Minecraft cows trans. Pretty rad, How about you? Lord, that's the same. No, that's the same with chickens because all of them lay eggs in Minecraft. Never thought about that though. Yeah, true. I have nothing to say because that's promoted. Yeah. Great, we want to have chocolate in the Bottoms up. Uh oh. Why? Now my teeth. I know that's meatloaf, but it still bothers me. Ew. Alright, I'm done here. I can't. Oh, I think you hurt my wrist. I'm wearing it on my other wrist. No, I can't. Because I think I got... Just my other wrist won't fit it. So thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more. See you all in the next episode of next episode of Reddit readings. Bye-bye.